this, Peter. So last week there was an exam. As a matter of fact, every week there's an exam, but this one, so we're going to go over the answers to the last. How many didn't get an exam? Did you get the exam? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So each week there is an exam. I handed it out to him, and a bunch of people took off. You guys were gone, and that's why this week we couldn't really do. I wanted to do another trip, but we have so much ground to cover that I want to focus on the stuff, the topics. And we're going to go over. So who was Iyengar? Who is Iyengar? You guys remember that?
It was a study of Krishna Mishra. No? Student of his?
Student of, yes, a student of.
That was, he's credited with making yoga popular.
He is definitely one of the popular teachers. He is, yeah. I would say he's credited as one of the teachers that made yoga popular around the world.
Yeah.
He is the founder of Iyengar Yoga Institute. So he's like, there's a whole Iyengar group that was really big in the early 90s. Not as much anymore. That style has, it's not that it's not existed, it's still there, but it's not as popular because I think it's just really technical for people that just want to come and practice and work out and sweat and leave. Iyengar is still a good set, but I'm not going to even say why it's not as famous as it could be, but it's definitely not as famous as it was. And that doesn't matter. It's still a great, valuable thing. So Iyengar was the founder of Iyengar Yoga style, and he was a student of Krishnamacharya. And probably most importantly, what makes him famous is that he is the author of Light on Yoga. So write that down. You may want to write that down, because that's not necessarily anywhere else. Light on Yoga. La luz de yoga. And how can one use strings to align a student posture? Did you guys do that yet?
String?
You do the string where you like cut strings, so one of the methods that we have is if you're standing up straight, many of the same alignment distances that are when you're standing up like this in standing anatomical position, like the skeleton stands straight up, the same distances should often occur in many of the other poses. For instance, let's say Warrior Two. The distance from your shoulder to shoulder stays the same. The distance from your underarm on your right hip should be the same as your left hip. Okay? So what you can do, what we sometimes do, is take strings, and if you were to measure those strings and cut them at different lengths, so take a look. So in other words, if I'm doing a Warrior Two, this is wrong, right? Look at my alignment. See how in Warrior Two, my hips should be, in fact, this alignment distances should be, these from my hips to my shoulder, underarm, should be the same as it is here. Okay? So if you took a bunch of strings and you measured here too, see? So from my collarbone to my chin, from my underarm to my hips, and you cut the strings those lengths, the idea is that that distance from my left shoulder to my right shoulder, those should be about the same as they are in Warrior Two. Does that make sense? Because just because I'm in Warrior Two doesn't mean I should be like this, right? This is not correct. I should be level like this, right? Which you can't. My outfit is very forgiving, but my hips are level now, and the distance from my hips on my right side and my left side are the same. Okay? So that's how you could use strings. So when you do a private, you could have them stand in anatomical position or stand in mountain pose and measure those distances with strings, cut them to size, and then put them in a bunch of poses and go, no, when you're in Warrior Two, if your right leg is lunging, your left hip is closer to your right because the string measurement is off. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's a technique. It's called the string. Well, we call it string theory, typically. But obviously it's not string theory. But it's yogic string theory. All right, so you guys, did I Do you guys understand the concept?
I understand the concept. I'm not sure how to put it in words, like in the short version of
Right.
everything you just said.
Okay, that's okay, but just understanding that the strings are a way to use as a measuring device to make sure that the alignments are correct. It's a measuring device. That the alignment stays the same. Okay, now, what is Ashtanga Yoga as referenced today? So what is it referenced today? That's the question.
Reference today.
Yeah.
This is style of yoga.
Style of yoga that is from where?
Style of yoga.
Yes, from Mysore, South India. You could say South India, but just say Mysore.
Mysore.
And then what is it? Okay, I'll just go through each one. Hold on. What poses should be avoided in the Ashtanga primary series and why?
Jump through.
Do you remember that? Okay, yeah. The jump through. What else? There was another major one that we went over.
Full lotus.
Full lotus. Maybe, yeah. Full lotus or half lotus. Anything here? I'm going to lock this door. Full lotus, half lotus. Remember the one though, in particular, that twisted foot Janushirshasana? You remember that one? Remember this?
Yeah.
We pull the ankle backwards. So that's the one. Janushirshasana D, I believe. Head to knee D.
Head to.
It's in the it's the fourth one of those seated one leg lunge forward. Seated 1 foot forward and 1 foot in. Janushirshasana.
The D.
Yeah. That's where the foot is rotated backwards.
Yeah, and he has the other one is like.
And then there's the other ones in the second series where they do both feet rotated backwards. So we won't be doing those
And
today.
what's that called?
Well, just the answer is in this. It's in the primary series, so it's just Janushirshasana D.
Oh, okay.
Just that one.
Okay.
Okay. And then there are a couple other ones that are questionable, but if you just name 2, you're fine. So like the main thing to know is the jump throughs and then Janushirshasana D. Those are the 2 that I'm really concerned about. I have other concerns about prayer behind the back. Right, which I showed you. They rotate it like this, yeah, but it's, you push your, yeah. And a lot of people, it hits the weak point of the wrist. So we don't recommend that one as much either. That one is really a critical thing to avoid, okay? The other one, so Kundalini. What is Kundalini? But what is Kundalini?
It's all
Create and drive.
feelings and like you getting.
So what is Kundalini? Close. There we go.
Well, I remember we were talking about that it's creative sexual energy.
There you go. That's correct. That's the answer. Creative sexual energy. That is typically referred to as coiled at the base of the spine. Okay, the other one is how does religion. Okay, what is the Paleolithic diet?
It's non-processed food.
Pretty much, yes. But the proper answer to that is a little different.
A diet of, just like people ate in a Paleolithic period.
Yes, as people ate in the Paleolithic era. That's generally the correct answer. Okay, and then let's pull this up real quick. How does religion influence diet?
Well, for example, if you're Muslim, you don't eat pork.
That's one of them. Definitely. What else?
Well, Indian, what was it? Like they don't eat cow, and then we have kosher food when you're Jewish.
And what else in relationship to yoga? Because there's a very specific bend to yoga eating, right?
Is it like that?
There's
most
one
of them
in
are, like,
particular.
vegetarian?
Yes.
They
Are you
don't-
vegan? Vegan or vegetarian? Right? So why is that? Why is that?
Why?
Because
hmm
everything is one.
No, are we talking about religion?
Where does it come from, though? Where does the idea of veganism come from in relationship to the 8 limbs of yoga? That's the big.
Oh, no.
That's it. Not killing, right? It's because they believe in East Indian. Now, again, this is like saying. See, to me, it's almost like saying, well, if I eat East Indian food, then I should be vegetarian, which is actually totally incorrect because I have been to India.
Yeah,
And let me
they
tell
eat
you-
a lot of meat. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
when
tons.
I go to a restaurant, like an Indian restaurant,
Yes.
they have meat.
I have Hindu friends in India and here that eat meat all the time.
Yeah.
And they even say, I'm Hindu, I eat meat. But I've had people literally say it just like that. So what's important to know is that's where it comes from. It comes from a sect of East Indian philosophy that believes that you shouldn't kill any. You basically should never kill. You shouldn't kill. Okay? That's where it comes from,
Animal.
specifically.
Animal only. Not animal.
Animals. It goes higher than that,
Well,
though.
plants and stuff. We talked about it last time.
Yeah.
It goes much farther than that, though. Actually, it goes way beyond that.
Nothing with eyes and organs.
It goes beyond even that. Like they don't even. Yeah, like some of them don't even eat vegetables. Remember, like roots.
Yeah, like
no
no
rooted
plants.
plants.
You know,
Mhm.
live things.
No life, right?
No
Like-
life.
And then some people say they're breatharians. They just eat breath and prana. They say they're like prana force people. Okay, so moving along. What is a chakra?
Energy center of the body.
What does chakra itself mean, the word itself? Chakra. So the word chakra means wheel.
What wheel?
Wheel. W-H-E-E-L. Okay, and then the other one is,
Why wheel? Like,
so it's like there are energy wheels in your body that spin. Okay, so like the idea is it's like,
not like
yeah, this one
all-
is- yeah, it's like they're spinning chakras.
just like the different chakras they are like.
They're like, the idea is that they're just called wheels actually. So I mean, bless you. What we need to know is they're called wheel. That's what chakra is defined as, it's a wheel.
Okay. No,
But-
that's weird.
Whether I personally believe, I think that I don't see them as spinning around really. I see them more as that they're like they go like, it's like they
Yeah.
orb, you know what I mean? I believe they do that, but that's my personal opinion of them. Chakras, what does a chakra relate to in terms of the physical body? This is actually a very specific question though. In relationship to your physical body, so like, what does it relate to?
Lungs,
Mm-hmm.
What?
pituitary, then pineal. then
It's sort of an
thyroid.
either or though. It's like kind of a combination of things. It's either a gland or ganglion of nerves, generally speaking.
Can you say the second one again? Gland?
Ganglion of nerves. Okay. Give an example of okay, so give me an example of an imbalanced third chakra.
Example of balance.
Imbalanced third chakra. Stress,
Trust?
sort of.
Who's not?
But what would be an
Trust.
example of a
That's
person?
the
What?
insomnia.
A person.
A person?
Yeah, like let's say there's a person that you know of, like a famous person that might be imbalanced third chakra. So what is a third chakra?
Oh,
Is this
third
the
chakra.
plexus?
No, it's the one between your eyes.
No,
The navel.
The third
That's-
chakra is
Navel.
that's a third eye center. That's the sixth chakra.
Navel.
Yes, the navel points. Well, it's actually the solar plexus. So it's like from the belly button to the sternum almost, you know, a little above. But it's the stomach.
Well, the third chakra is a sense of self, right?
It's a power center.
Power center.
Is it
Power
like
center.
anger and
Oh, addictions, maybe.
So who could be in modern day? Who could be like, let's say in the last 100 years, who might have been really imbalanced in their third chakra?
Wow.
It's a tough one.
It's an easy one actually.
Is it?
Where? Which country?
Germany.
Hitler.
There you go. That's a perfect example. That's someone who was power hungry, right? And it was imbalanced, wasn't it? Right? Because when you try to take over the whole world, the problem is there's too many of that's too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's too much. He lost control completely. And also, he tried to attack Russia and Africa at the same time. He tried to take Europe all the way to Eastern Europe, and he even had U-boats off of America. There was like U-boats, German U-boats were off Long Beach. The guy said he was so close that he put the periscope up and he could see people driving on the Pacific Coast Highway.
Wow.
That's a little imbalanced, right? Because even his generals would say, what are we doing? We can't do this, you guys. We know this, right? So he was really imbalanced in that chakra, and it got, the whole world got in trouble, right? As a result of that.
so what is
So-
that, like the energy chakra? Or?
Imbalanced third chakra. That's a really gross example of it. Like when it really becomes bad in the macrocosm, right? Some people might say that any dictator probably has a little imbalance in their power center. Because if you're a dictator, you know, you're probably, something's wrong. Generally speaking. Okay, so what about an imbalance in the heart chakra? Or what about a balance in the heart chakra? What would be somebody that was balanced? Who could you think of? Yeah, maybe Mother Teresa. Although one might argue that maybe she's a little over the top, right? But her heart center is good, you could say. So that's like a heart-centered person.
Also the
So you could look
Is
at,
it also Dalai Lama would be also like a.
yeah, probably. Yeah, because he said they said who was one of his greatest teachers, and he said the dictator, the rulers of China. It's one of his quotes. So he sees it. That's a pretty balanced way to look at things,
Yeah.
right? Instead of making them the enemy, he's like, okay, I'll just point the finger that way. But then the way he said it was really wise. Yeah. So that was that was the test last week. All right, I wanted to go over it mainly because we missed it. So that was week 4, final exam for the week 4.